Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Ken here, and I am really, really excited to have this conversation with you this morning. I'm going to talk to you about patience, my lack of patience. So the big question is this: how is a tiny percentage of entrepreneurs blow the pack away? What are they doing that we're not? I asked myself that question for 10 years. I was failing forward and getting sick of it. I wanted to build a coaching business, but couldn't make any headway. So I started studying. I realized that the world's most elite marketers, entrepreneurs, and gurus were all using the same 4-step system. I call it the authority factor. On the show, I'm going to prove to you that the authority factor worked for them and it'll work for you. My name is Ken Dunn. Let's get started. And my addictions. This whole conversation is about my addictions and my lack of patience. Talk about painful. You want to watch a guy step on his face and make a fool of himself? Stick around today. Hey, listen, all the time I get asked, how do I do it? How do I do it? How am I able to work so hard? And why do I work so hard, considering where I've gotten to in my life? I literally get up at between 5 and 6 o'clock every morning. And I'm not like some people say I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and all that stuff. Sometimes between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. And I stay awake and working probably until midnight every day. I get 7 hours sleep every night, but I go insane during the day. And the closer that people get to me, the closer that people are around me, the more they actually see it. And I want to explain why. I want to explain what this is all about today, because if you're following me, wherever you're following me, and look, if you guys are here today, do me a favor, go into the chat and say hi. And dig into this with me, because this is a really important topic. And I see on Facebook, Gontum Dave says, keep up the good work. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. But listen, let's talk about this for a second. If you're here with me right now, you're somebody that wants to do more in your life. You're somebody that wants to succeed at a higher level in your life. Hey, everybody. Good to see you guys. I don't know your name unless you actually click on that link. If you're on Facebook or any of the platforms, you got to click on that link above that says StreamYard and click on that link there. Mark Carriega from the Philippines. Good to see you, brother. And then there's Ines Diener. Thank you for being here, my friend. Listen, I want to dig into this. If you are here with me right now, it's because you want to be successful in your life. You want to make more money in your life. You want to have more prosperity in your life. You want to help more people in your life. And I got to tell you, there are two things that you need to do if you're going to be successful. And this all comes from some thoughts I was having this morning. I was up at 5 this morning. I started reading for a while. I started journaling for a little bit. I started to realize, I asked myself, like, what are my two, if I look back at all the things that I've been successful in, all the things that have happened to me, what are my two things? What are the two things that I can honestly say that I am, that I attribute to my success? The first thing is ambition. If you're going to succeed in your life, you have to have a reason for what you're doing that doesn't get old. You have to have a reason for what you're doing that rocks you to your core, and you can't stop yourself because of that reason. And my reason, really simple, was when I was 30 years old, I found out I was going to become a dad, and I had no money in the bank. I was making lots of money, but I was spending money as fast as I was making it, and I had no money in the bank. And I had to do something about that. Good morning, Mary Hetherington. Good morning, Francisco. I had to do something about that. And I started my first business back in the day, and I became haunted. That's the word I need to use. Haunted by success, by making enough money. In the early days, it was about making enough money to give my kids whatever they wanted. And then here's what's going to happen. If you have a really valid reason for what you do, and friends, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to challenge you here. If you're not succeeding and you're getting stuck a lot, and you're getting paralyzed and you're meandering, I challenge you to look deeply at what makes you work every day and what makes you go to work. And I guarantee you, you're going to find that you don't have a real goal in your life, something that rocks you to your core. And that's what it was for me. I'll tell you what happened. Right around that same time, I read a book by Joel Osteen. And in that book, Joel Osteen talks, the book's called Becoming a Better You, if you want to grab a copy of it. In that book, Joel talks about how to become better, how to get more. And he introduced me to a theory or a thought process that radically improved or increased my ambition. I'll tell you what it was. In the book, he talks about heredity. But it's a totally different context to the word. So the word heredity, for everybody that's here, it means the things that get passed on from parents to children and spawn generations. And most often that word heredity is used in the context of disease and disorder. When you get sick with something, there's lots of diseases that are hereditary, which means those diseases get passed on to your children. But what Osteen did in this book, he talked about heredity in a different aspect. You know what he talked about it? He talked about it with wealth and success. And what he said was, if you take a look at your life right now, if you haven't made this a focus and you haven't literally created an ambitious plan for yourself based on something that makes you sick to your stomach, I always say your why should make you cry. And if you don't have a reason for why you're doing things that is that freaking big, you're not going to stick with it. So in the book, Osteen said, look at your own life. Look at where you are right now and ask yourself, what did my parents do? What did my grandparents do? What did my great-grandparents do? And if you discover that you're on the same path as the people before you, that's heredity. That's heredity. And adversely, Osteen said, if you want to change it, first you have to realize that you're on that same sedimentary path. Then you have to figure out, why do you want to change it? What is it? If you have that higher level of success in your life than you want, why is it like that? So I started looking back at my life then, and I thought, holy cow. All right, I'm a cop. Nobody else in my family was a cop. And initially, because I had a different profession at the time, I thought, well, actually, at that time, I had left policing. I was just at that transition point. I started in my own business, but I was still in the cop mindset, right? And so immediately I'm thinking, well, I've already changed it, so I must be doing it. But that wasn't the deal. When I started looking back through my family, it wasn't the professions. My dad was in the Navy. My grandfather was a plumber. My great-grandfather was a baker. My great-grandfather before that was a bricklayer. And they all could have made money doing those things in their lives. But you know what the common trait was, the hereditary trait? It was finances. I was broke. I had no money in the bank, even though I was making $100,000 a year. And I went back through my dad, my granddad, 6 generations, as far as I could go. And guess what? They were all broke. They never had money. And I needed to change that, because the way I looked at it, my wife was pregnant with my first child. My second child came a couple of years later. And if I didn't start bringing in more money then my kids were in for a really rocky life. And I had a rocky life, and I didn't want them to go through that. Now, here's the second thing. When you realize that generations before you, those same people were on that same path, it'll do something to you. It did something to me. What it told me was, when I started making money and my kids were in a good place, my son's going to university today, 8 years later. He doesn't have to pay for it. Well, we're paying for it, but he won't have student loans, right? My daughter's in the same place. The good things are happening in our lives. We own multiple properties. Things are going really well. But why do I still work 20-hour days? Why is my ambition higher than it's ever been? It's because of that book. See, what Osteen said is, once you start changing your life and you start getting where you're going, don't lose the cause. What I started realizing was, if I could generate enough wealth and I could start teaching my kids how I did it, and I was very open and transparent with them and pass this information on, I could break the chain. My kids could end up being more like me and driving after success. They're going to have their own failures. You're going to have failures in your life. You're going to get beaten down for them. And success isn't determined by the things you do right. It's determined by how you react to the things you do wrong, to the mistakes you make, to the challenges you go through. And that's really, you talk to anybody and they'll tell you, look, if I sat here right now and talked to you about all the things that went wrong in my life and all the times I've been kicked in the pants and all the times that I've struggled, yeah, success is about how you react to the things that go wrong. All right, so that's kind of the story of ambition, but I want to talk about how I got here today. My opening quote was, "I'm not patient." And friends, to be honest with you, that's absolutely not true. That was just said just to get you here, because I know you're probably going through something in your life that that has you testing your patience. I want so much in my life, and I have so much to accomplish. I'm 50 years old, and I want it all faster. I want to have $1 million days in my life, in my businesses. I want to watch my kids become parents and move down this road. And I want all that success. But here's the thing that I realized. It's a journey. It's a journey. And so you have to be patient on the journey, because nothing is going to happen unless you get your mind into the right place and you develop the right thinking patterns on a daily basis. The minute you let negativity into your mind, the minute you start thinking negative things, the minute you start harboring ill feelings, is the minute you're going to fail in your life. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine a couple months ago was brutally beaten, brutally by some strangers in downtown, and ended up in a hospital and ended up getting his jaw broken. Well, in several conversations I've had with him since then, he's harboring a lot of negative energy because of that. And I've actually tried to say to him, you should be thankful for it. And I started pointing out reasons why he's thankful. He's been trying to lose weight. He's lost 30 pounds because he can only drink liquids, and on and on and on. It goes through all these things. But it was such a traumatic experience for him that all he can think about is, I need to get those guys. Those guys, they're going to get it. They're going to get arrested. And there's so much energy being put into that it's bringing the negativity into the mind. It's causing impatience. It's causing challenges. And friends, that's probably the same thing that's happened to you. And this is one of the biggest challenges that anybody can face. If you truly want to change your life, you have to develop patience. If you work hard, and there's a caveat too, right? If you really want to succeed in your life, then you've got to figure out a way to shorten the learning curve. There's two ways that I know that I use to shorten the learning curve. Number one, I hire people that are better than me, that are already where I want to be. I pay them money to teach me. And a lot of times I'm just jumping right into their highest level offers, giving them the most money I can. I borrowed money to do this in the early days. I put it on credit cards. I borrowed money from other people to do it, but I pay to shorten the learning curve. Coaching programs. The second thing is I read books. Every day I spend at least 2 hours now reading books. And I'm going to keep doing that for the rest of my life. So I shorten the learning curve. The second thing is, whenever something negative goes wrong in my life, I always, as painful as it is, I always think of the better, like the why it happened, the good reason it happened. I was in a bad car accident. My car was smashed up a couple years ago, and I loved the car. But I was instantly thankful about it because it allowed me to get a new car. You got to have that mindset. And I know there's some people here that are going to think that's really hokey and that really doesn't work, but it is the absolute. Because if you allow negative thoughts into your mind, those negative thoughts will take control of your mind. They will dictate the reaction to those thoughts. So that's when, if you get negative thoughts in your mind and you allow them to stay there, you're going to go online. You're going to start searching things that are negative. You're going to start living in the negativity. You're going to start looking for negative news, and it's going to be a downward spiral. On the other hand, if you create an attitude of patience in your life, and the minute something goes wrong, before you even get a chance to react to the negativity of it, you ask yourself, and you program your mind to ask yourself, what good came out of this for me? What doors did this open for me? So the last part about this is patience. I said at the beginning, I have no patience. That's the biggest lie I've ever told you. I have the patience of the gods for everything that happens because I know the journey I'm on is real. I know my heart is in the right place, and I know that it takes time. You got to have patience for this. You got to keep yourself moving every single day. I hope this helped you today. Keep moving. We'll see you soon. Hey friends, thanks for being here on the show today. Listen, if you really enjoyed the show, then I gotta tell you, there are hundreds of other shows just like this that will teach you everything you need to know about building an online business wrapped around helping other people. I focus completely on teaching people how to build coaching businesses. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so you know when new shows are live. And because you're here with me right now, as a special invitation, I'm hosting an online workshop where I'm teaching people exactly how to build a coaching business. Well, what I'm going to show you is how I've built an 8-figure coaching business working exclusively right here from my home office. And it's a 4-step system. How to build your following and move those people to your email list and then start selling your products and services to them. If you want to join the workshop, all you have to do is go to authorityfactor.info. I put that URL in the show's notes. Make sure you check it out.